Όσοι του Θεού πρέσβευε υπέρ ημών, αθανασίας και ζωής λαβόμενος της αιωνίους αφός και τριλογούς έγκλης πατέρ.
These past weeks we've been examining the three principal disciplines of the Orthodox spiritual life, beginning with prayer. Today we're going to talk about almsgiving. The word almsgiving or alms is a bit archaic perhaps, but as Father Evan in his book Spiritual Toolkit identifies it, it's best understood as charitable acts of love toward the other. It's a much better way to think of this. Oftentimes we reduce charity to sort of a transactional thing, as Father Evan puts it. We want to be do-gooders. We want to perhaps make ourselves feel good about helping others in need, or we're motivated by what we get out of it. But in the Christian tradition, our acts of love towards others do not emerge as merely an outward display. They really emerge from the transformation of our own hearts. As the Apostle John puts it in 1 John, he says, "We love because God in Christ first loved us." And we learn to love not just as an emotion, when we feel like it, when we feel drawn. We learn to love because that is the very nature of Christ himself. And as we yield our wills, our temperaments, our whole being to him, we find ourselves manifesting the fruit of the Spirit, the greatest of those being love, divine love. Yes, it involves oftentimes the giving up of our money, sacrificing our resources. Letting go is a better way of putting it, because so often we cling to our resources as if they were ours. And I know this gets to be a very delicate conversation because we are very sensitive about our money, our wealth. And yet St. John Chrysostom is very clear that insofar as we are blessed with material goods, we are called out of that transformation of our own heart to be willing to let go of those material goods for the sake of others who are in need. But it's also important to note, I think, that this disposition of charity, of almsgiving, of compassion, feeling with, this disposition goes way beyond just writing a check to some charitable organization. It actually involves us in relationship with others, engaging with others personally. It's all too easy for it to remain an abstract act, and then we feel good about the money we've donated to whatever cause or whatever charity it may be. But almsgiving is about caring for the person in need, wherever we may find them. Engaging with them relationally, not for our sake, not for the sense of any kind of moral conscience we might have, but simply because the love of God has been shed into our hearts and we share that love with others. This certainly doesn't come naturally or automatically, which is why this is called a discipline, like prayer, like fasting. It's something that we must intentionally engage in and practice. What we find, I believe, is the more we put ourselves in a position to be sensitive to the needs of others and to reach out to them in love, whatever that love may look like, the more we do that, the more we find that fruit of the Spirit within us growing and flourishing and multiplying. The more, like prayer, like fasting, it becomes a habit of our being it becomes the disposition of our hearts soften, and we find that, yes, we end up receiving far more than we are ever capable of giving, just as we know by God's grace we receive far more than we can offer back to Him. It requires paying attention. It requires developing and putting ourselves in situations where we are developing that loving action and nature, that loving sensitivity where we see, perhaps for the first time, we see others in their need and we act in love towards them in whatever way. It may be a phone call when God puts someone on our heart. It may be taking that time to reach out to them with a word of encouragement, to just let them know they're not alone. It may be intentionally saying, I'm going to volunteer my time at St. Michael's Community Kitchen here in Craig, or perhaps visiting elderly and shut-in, or being more intentional about caring for those with any kind of chronic illness and reaching out to them, letting them know that they matter, letting them know that they are loved by God and loved by us. God dwelling in us, softening our hearts so that we may grow in the very compassion that defines God's very being. So, almsgiving. Not just about writing a check, not just about money, not just about do-gooding. It's about our transformation. It's about God softening our hearts and opening our eyes and our awareness to the needs of those around us. Why? Because He loves them. And He has loved us, so we are called to love Him as well. So I encourage you during these closing weeks of Lent before Holy Week to think about very concretely what you might do to step outside of yourself, outside of your ego, outside of your own sense of self-reliance and sort of walled up independence, and to realize that when one member of the body hurts, we all hurt. We rejoice with those who rejoice, we weep with those who weep, and we manifest the love of God in us through the practice of outwardly looking love and compassion toward others. God bless you, and we will talk next week.